Rise of popular dissent and birth of mass organizations. This is the topic which we are going to talk today. What do you mean by rise of popular dissent? Since the beginning of our Telangana agitation, it is 1952 to till date in the sense the period which we are talking in Telangana formation paper, there are many stages where the movement is at a low level, low ebb, and sometimes it reached a high peak, and at times there were no big mass movements and only a few people were talking about it or inspiring the people to continue the struggle, and at times there were people who were there, at times there were incidents or the periods where people were gathering in thousands or lakhs, and the entire state, the Telangana region, was under the impact of the movement. So here, today we will be talking about the rise of popular dissent and birth of mass organizations. Just in the previous class, we have discussed about the initial stages where there is a huge silence, there is no one talking about it, where the whole movement went into some lull, like because of the wrong consciousness or because of the efforts of the ruling classes to colonize Telangana with the consciousness which is fake, like Telugu identity and rise of Telugudesam party. All these things we have seen. So in this background, the whole movement went into slumber. Means there is no big movement, but the consciousness of Telangana still remains. Where does this consciousness remains? This consciousness or understanding or the aspiration of Telangana for Telangana is in the brains, in the consciousness of some intellectuals, writers and political activists. And that is why post 1990s we have seen there is a lot of change. Before 90s, starting from 86 to 90 or 92, we have seen the efforts in the last class how the intellectuals, a group of people, are trying to start the movement in a new way, new forms of organizations. Though it is not a huge organization, a small organization like Telangana Information Center, or through booklets like Flash and Fellowmen by 𝗍𝗓 Padmanabhan. All these things are making efforts to keep the spark alive, so that this spark will once, in the future course, it will become a huge prairie fire. So we have to understand that when there is a silence, there is or there will be a section which will keep the whole movement still active, though not in a big way. Now, the efforts of these people have definitely blossomed, flourished, or gave results. Like once the consciousness is still there and it is growing, when the conditions are there for the growth of a huge movement, and definitely the opportunity is taken up by the people. So that's what has happened. Till 1990s, we have seen the movement is at a low level, low ebb. But 92 onwards, we have seen the student movement started in Osmania University and grown, and TLSO or TSF and student organizations formed, and now there is an active movement for the Telangana formation, though at a low level. But in this background, there are some organizations which are coming up because of the efforts of the people who are conscious. The consciousness of these people is of two levels. One is Telangana consciousness. Second thing is ideological consciousness. Why I am speaking of ideological consciousness along with Telangana consciousness, you can see the type of organizations which are coming up now are completely different. Not just Telangana consciousness, but there is a question of class consciousness, question of the consciousness about the rights of the people in class perspective. If I am saying class perspective, remember that is a leftist word. This is a word which is applicable for the people or organizations which are completely into a perspective with class orientation. So, in this period and in this class, we are going to talk about such organizations which came up with the initiative from the organizations which are class conscious. And at the same time, they are for the rights of Telangana too. So this phase is a little bit different from the all other mass organizations which are sectoral. Means, for example, if lecturers are forming an organization, that will be a lecturers organization. It is like just a trade union having the consciousness of Telangana and fighting for it. So here today we will be talking about some of the organizations or meetings or events which gave rise to a huge movement which has gathered thousands of people into the agitation. For example, we talk about Bhuvanigiri Sabha, we talk about Telangana 𝗖𝗽𝗍𝗃𝗃, we talk about Telangana Mahasabha, we talk about Warangal Declaration, Telangana Janasabha, Telangana Vidyarthuల Vedika. All these organizations are having a clear-cut class orientation. So, what is the significance of all these organizations? First point, from small efforts to mass orientation is the basic character. Initial efforts are just small, a group meeting or people talking about it with a narrow organizational base. It is not a huge movement, but the consciousness is huge. So initial efforts to raise the consciousness of the society or the masses is lying with these people, and immediately these initial efforts started for raising the consciousness. Second aspect is the whole movement of this period was beginning as a small gathering and going as a bigger meeting. Might be the beginnings will be in a hall, a center where people will gather and discuss for whole day and go with a new resolution and make a huge meeting where thousands of masses will come and participate in the delegate sessions or seminars and also public meetings. So this is second aspect. Third one, the progressive and democratic ideology. I said ideology, that is fine. This is the phase where the consciousness is carried out to the masses, being carried to the masses or taken to the masses by the people who are ideologically progressive and democratic. What do you mean by progressive and democratic? The class consciousness, just as I told till now. Class consciousness, consciousness about the rights of the deprived. It is not just Telangana, plus also it is ST scheduled tribe or Dalit or Adivasi or gender or minority. All this consciousness along with the class perspective put into Telangana, and this is the form of organizations we have. So, ideological groupings of these organizations transformed the whole aspect into a mass movement. We can see still the political movement hasn't picked up. Political movement in the sense, do I say that this is not a political movement? Everything is a political movement. But the political movement in which I am going to talk, or the political movement which we are discussing, is the political movement related to elections, or a political party which is fighting the elections to lobby or to fight or to make laws in parliament to get Telangana. So again I am explaining two aspects. Many people say that political movement means political party and elections. Don't ever mistake that. Political movement is a movement, whether you are into assembly or not, it's a political movement. So this is all political movement, and the political movement which many of the books or the phases we talk is electioneering. Political party which is formed for the formation of Telangana is TRS. If we see TRS as a political party, its aim is not only a mass movement, but legislation in the assemblies or parliaments and making the law or enacting the law to bring out Telangana as a separate state. So here in this background, this is non-parliamentary or non-election, and the other one is election based. So here we haven't come to the stage where TRS party which is into elections is not coming up. It is coming in the latter part of our decade. But here, what is happening? These mass organizations started and created a huge mass movement which gave birth to TRS-like parties also. That is very important. One side, it is mass organization. On the other side, creating a mood, creating an understanding in the political people like KCR, so that the whole movement will be transformed into other half of the mass movement, that is political or activities in parliamentary politics. So in this background, this I call it as generalization for this period. So in this background, what are the new organizations or events happening? The first and foremost meeting we should talk about is Bhuvanagiri Sabha. What is Bhuvanagiri Sabha? Bhuvanagiri is a place, it's a small town in Nalgonda district, and presently it's might be in Yadadri Bhuvanagiri district. That is previously Nalgonda, now this is Yadadri Bhuvanagiri. Bhuvanagiri is a medieval significant fort started in Kalyani Chalukyan period. Before also we have the continuity of Bhuvanagiri. Our Telangana history is so rich that if we go back to our ancient times, Bhuvanagiri is one of the sites where Vishnukundis also formed their centers. So Bhuvanagiri, Aleru, Kolanpak, all these centers had a contiguous history from ancient to modern times. And we are in modern times, we are talking about the Bhuvanagiri Sabha, which is very, very significant in Telangana movement. This is the first meeting of importance which broke the ground. From here onwards, you can see masses pouring into the meetings or going into the people, the organizations going into the masses and bringing them into Telangana forms, organizations or agitation, consciousness. So Bhuvanagiri Sabha is one such important event. Here, for Bhuvanagiri Sabha, there is a background. It's not a spontaneous thing that everyone went to Bhuvanagiri and started a meeting and people gathered. No, it was a conscious effort. In January 1997, on 19th, there was a meeting in Ashoka Talkies near VV College, 𝗂𝗍𝗃 College, Putliboli in Hyderabad. So this meeting was organized by a group of journalists known as Forum for Freedom of Expression. This meeting was organized in memory of Ghulam Rasool, a journalist who was killed by the government, killed by the Chandrababu Naidu government in encounter. How he was killed? Because he was accompanying a Naxalite or Naxalite sympathizer, so he was killed. That was the statement by the government. So Ghulam Rasool, a journalist being killed by state and no regrets or no inquiries. So the organization which was started in this period is known as Forum for Freedom of Expression. It's an organization of journalists, and Pasham Yadagiri was the convener. Pasham Yadagiri, an important, a prominent personality in the entire Telangana movement post 1969 period. He was a student, and again come to 80s or 90s movement until last date. We can see Pasham Yadagiri in many meetings. Every meeting he'll be attending and speaking for the formation of Telangana. Ideologically strong and understanding about Telangana with very rich understanding. So Pasham Yadagiri, the convener of this forum, was organizing this meeting. In this meeting, the topic, since it's a memorial lecture, every year you have a topic and people gather. And this year, that is 1997, the topic was Telangana culture and discrimination. And this Telangana culture discrimination meeting was a huge success because the whole hall was packed, jam-packed, and the meeting was titled as this Forum for Expression, but they are talking about Telangana. Discrimination. You are talking about Telangana and discrimination. How Telangana is being discriminated by the ruling class, Andhra ruling class, which is in power in United Andhra Pradesh. So automatically the entire program or the plans or the activities of this meeting will be on those lines. So that is why in this meeting, first issue of 𝗧𝗏 Telangana was inaugurated. A booklet, 𝗧𝗏 Telangana. 𝗧𝗏 Telangana means Telangana which is a victim of treachery or deceit. The deceived Telangana, that is 𝗧𝗏 Telangana. brought out by 𝗂𝗽𝗍𝗂. 𝗂𝗽𝗍𝗂, another prominent personality in the next phase of Telangana movement. He was with all the formations and helping the people to take out the agitational forms, because he was providing ideological basis. Each and every field he was doing research and talking about how Telangana is being deceived. The statistical data he is collecting. And 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Telangana is one such effort. Like the Forum for, that Telangana Information Trust was also bringing booklets. And this is one such book, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Telangana. This is the first issue. And in this meeting itself, Jaishankar's lecture, in the last class we have talked about Mallepalli Rajam Trust was organizing a memorial lecture, and in that Jaishankar gave a lecture on Telangana lo em jarugutundi. And in this meeting, the lecture was also brought out as a booklet. And third important and very, very, very prominent thing is Gaddar's famous song, Amma Telanganama, Akali Kekala Ganama. Amma Telanganama, Akali Kekala Ganama song was sung by Gaddar for the first time. Means, oh Telangana mother, just you are impoverished with the hunger. That is what the song says. So, Amma Telanganama, Akali Kekala Ganama, which became a popular song in the next phase. The entire phase you sing this song, and many more songs are there which was sung by Gaddar. Like in Jai Bolo Telangana we have seen Podustunna Poddu Meeda. It has become a remarkable, immemorable song and a cut above the other songs. So this Amma Telanganama is one such song. So in this meeting they talked about Telangana, the deceit or the victimization of Telangana by the Andhra ruling class. So after this meeting, in that meeting itself, they concluded by taking a resolution that we are going to organize a meeting at Bhuvanagiri. So decision to organize Bhuvanigiri Sabha was taken in this meeting. So once you take a decision to start Bhuvanagiri Sabha, meeting at Bhuvanagiri, means that is Bhuvanagiri Sabha, there should be preparations. Jaini Mallaya Gupta, a freedom fighter from Bhuvanagiri, was the person who is at the center. Spirited man for Telangana cause. Even in the recent times, recently, a few years back, his 90th anniversary, birth anniversary, means birthday celebrations were held. Even at the age of 90, he was speaking so powerfully about Telangana movement or the rights of the people. So, a staunch Democrat from Bhuvanagiri, Jaini Mallaya Gupta was there as the person. Around him, the whole organizational setup or the preparations will be done. And this is because the movement or the meeting should be organized amidst repression. The government of Chandrababu Naidu, the entire period, if you see, till the last phase, it was till 2004, you can say, in Telangana, there was huge repression because Naxalite movement was also at its peak. In almost all the districts of North Telangana and even South Telangana too, in many districts, there was Naxalite movement, squads were roaming. So, there was severe repression in Telangana too. So, amidst this repression, you have to organize this meeting. So, you have to involve various shades of organizations or people from different walks of life, many Democrats like lawyers, intellectuals, journalists, and some employees, so that they can counter the repression or they can counter the state from stopping it, because they take the pretext of Naxalism and stop the movement for Telangana. So it should not be done. So this is the preparations they made. They have made a huge reception committee with 43 members. Reception committee with 43 members means these 43 members from different walks of life will be involved in the reception committee. So the appeal will go on behalf of them. So Nagara Manjayya was the convener of Telangana Hakkula Samiti, an advocate from Bhuvanagiri. And this Nagara Manjayya, as convener, organized this reception committee. Nagara Manjayya was also a Dalit activist. He was for the classification of Madiga caste. So Madiga reservation or SC reservation should be classified. Mala Madiga, that reservation classification organization is there. So Nagara Manjayya was involved in the struggle for classification for Madigas. So Nagara Manjayya was an advocate, he is an advocate, and he was the convener of this reception committee. And apart from J.N. Mallayya Gupta, P. Balakrishna Reddy, or Innaya, Gada Innaya, just now I talked about, then Sama Mallareddy, a journalist, Pittala Srisailam, another journalist and noted Telangana activist. All these people were involved in this entire preparations. So the preparations for Bhuvanigiri Sabha went on well. They could organize people, they could invite people, and on March 8th and 9th, 1997, the meeting was held at Bhuvanagiri. March 8th is very significant. If you recollect, the first meeting after 56 Andhra Pradesh formation is happening in 1958. March 8th, Telangana Mahasabha, happening in one of the palace of Pratapgirji. And Telangana Mahasabha under the presidency of Venkat Swamy, first time talked about this united Andhra Pradesh, 2 years of experience is bad. We have to fight for Telangana cause. This is happening in 1956. Again you can see March 8th in 1977. March 8th is significant because, see, when we talk about March 8th, it's a progressive day. Means it is the day of remembering the struggles of women workers, and rights of women. It's Women's Day, International Women's Day. When you have such a prominent International Women's Day, so coinciding with that, these people thought of organizing this March 8th. And that's why I said class conscious, ideologically conscious people choose such things which is more relevant to the people in a class perspective. So the meetings, 2-day meeting, that is Bhuvanagiri Sabha, started at Bhuvanagiri. 𝗂𝗽𝗱 Narayan Rao, the famous Telangana person, by this time inaugurated it. 𝗂𝗽𝗱 was not in favor of Telangana. He was first a Vishalandhrite. But post 1956, his understanding that Telangana should be a reality. And Andhra ruling class cannot do justice to the Telangana people. And this understanding of Vishalandhra is a fake. That is why 𝗂𝗽𝗱 became a staunch Telanganite by this time. And 𝗂𝗽𝗱 inaugurated this meeting on 8th. And the venue was named as 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗬𝗏 Pranganam. What do you mean by 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗬𝗏 Pranganam? Any movement, present day's movement, should link up with the heroic struggles of the people of that region so that you can invite the same vigor and vitality into the movement. That is why they named the hall as 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗬𝗏 Pranganam, which happened between 1946-51. Since this is Bhuvanagiri, Nalgonda was a hotbed of Telangana armed struggle. So the venue was named as 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗬𝗏 Pranganam. So as I said, 8th and 9th, you have 2 sessions, 2 different wings. One is delegate session, one is public meeting. Public meeting, huge meeting, anyone can come, attend and listen to the speeches. And delegate session will be thoroughly discussing the aspects of the meeting. This meeting is for Telangana. So this Bhuvanagiri Sabha's delegate session will be talking about the issues pertaining to Telangana. So the delegate session, we have seen many intellectuals like Professor Jaishankar talking about education, health, Gada Innaya, irrigation, power, Professor Srinivas, colonization and employment, 𝗘𝗍𝗺, resources, industry, pollution. And the perspective of Telangana movement was discussed by Gaddar and Venkateshwarlu and Nandini Sidhareddy, presently who is the chairman of Telangana Sahitya Parishad, spoke on language, culture, media. K. Srinivas, renowned journalist, spoke about media and discrimination of Telangana. Ghanta Chakrapani, our TSPSC chairman, talked about the social welfare issues, SC, ST, BC, minority students and rights in education and all these things. Dr. Mattaya talked about reservation and classification. And Professor B. Janardhan Rao, a staunch, a great academician from Kakatiya, he is no more, and he discussed on the tribal issues in Telangana. He was an expert on Telangana issues. Remember this name, Professor B. Janardhan Rao was talking about the tribal issues in Telangana. Apart from them, Professor P.L. Visveswara, all these names will be recurring again and again from now onwards because these people are involving in many of the aspects, activities in Telangana movement. So, Mallepalli Lakshmయ్య, Professor P.L. Visveswara, Pasham Yadagiri, 𝗳𝗏 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 is a prominent leader of that time of Dalit Republican angle. But he was a leader of People's War once. He came out of People's War and joined the Dalit politics, and he was the leader of Republican Party of those days. So 𝗳𝗏 all these people attended and gave their opinions on the issues of Telangana. So what Bhuvanigiri Sabha demanded? Bhuvanigiri Sabha, you see, of any meeting should demand something. Bhuvanigiri Sabha demanded lift the power cuts in Telangana. Power cut means it is not just power cuts in household. The power cuts are affecting the agriculture in Telangana. Without power, we don't have irrigation water. So power cuts badly affecting the agricultural scenario in Telangana. So lift power cuts. Abolish common entrance tests. Introduce regional one. Because common entrance tests are in favorable of United Andhra Pradesh. So regional entrance tests. Then Shikam, Manyam, Banjar or surplus lands. All these are the forms of lands which is not under the ownership of any private person. So personal ownership leaning, or there is no personal ownership for these lands. These lands are under the purview of the state, and state should distribute these lands to landless. And and some more things like funds to Sriram Sagar, SLBC, that is Srisailam Left Bank Canal, and minor irrigation projects should be allocated. Strict implementation of 1 of 70 Act, which is a Forest Rights Act for the forest dwelling people, that is Adivasis. And provide drinking water to Telangana. Drinking water is a huge problem. Though the two big rivers like Godavari and Krishna flows through Telangana first. Telangana is still reeling under the problems of drinking water and irrigation. So drinking water issue was also taken up. Drinking water issue is so problematic in Telangana. Like, you see, the river Krishna enters into Mahabubnagar. But Krishna water, the Mahabubnagar district don't get Krishna water. And Mahabubnagar, not now, but previously under United Andhra Pradesh, used to get drinking water once in 15 days, Mahabubnagar town, or once in 10 days. Take the case of Sangareddy, which is on the banks of Manjira river. Manjira water comes to Hyderabad to quench the thirst of the city, but the locals don't get neither drinking water nor irrigated water of Manjira. So that's why we are demanding for drinking water to Telangana too. So the other demands are classification of SC, ST, BC minority reservations on the regional basis. Lift police camps from Telangana villages. Telangana was under severe repression. So lift police camps. Because in the pretext of curbing the Naxalism, every village was soaking with blood because of the repression by the United Andhra Pradesh government. So lift police camps, then stop privatization of industries in Telangana. 50% reservation for women in all fields. Then oppose humiliating Telangana language and culture. In media, there is no place for Telangana language. Telangana language is being considered as a second grade language, a rural language, uncivilized thing. So oppose that. Then they condemned the political leaders who usurped the benefits of the Telangana movement of 1969, like Chenna Reddy or Madan Mohan, who became political leaders. They became CMs or governors or MPs or MLAs, but they didn't again start the movement after the withdrawal. So these were the demands of Bhuvanagiri Sabha. And Bhuvanagiri public meeting was held, huge gathering, and in the public meeting, Belli Lalita, remember this name, leader of 𝗂𝗽𝗍 𝗺𝗪𝗺 and her team performed. And she was known as Nightingale of Telangana. For Telangana movement, she sang many songs. And she is from that 𝗂𝗪𝗺 nation, which is belonging to 𝗂𝗪𝗺. So she was killed by Naim gang after this meeting, after a few months only, but she was killed by Naim gang. So we lost a great Telangana singer in the hands of a gangster like Naim. And Gaddar was shot on 6th April, just after 1 month of this Bhuvanagiri Sabha meeting. Gaddar was shot by unidentified people. Tragically, till date, we don't know who were the people. So she was shot on 6th April. So Bhuvanigiri Sabha has some message that this is the first time people are getting organized under some organization or under the consciousness. People are gathering, and this Sabha was a huge success with thousands of people pouring into Bhuvanagiri to attend the public meeting. In the latter part of the class, in the second part, we will see the other organizations too. In the last class, we have discussed about the birth of a mass organization at Bhuvanagiri Sabha. It's a mass movement. There is no organization as such. But now the gathering as a popular dissent means thousands of people gathering with the demand of separate Telangana is happening. Now various forms of organizations are springing up, and that we will be seeing in this class. So first we will be talking about Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍. You know what 𝗖𝗍 means? United platform. Vedika means platform. Telangana, a united platform was being built with different mass organizations for Telangana. And the background was, there was a seminar at OU, Osmania University, regional imbalances, developmental alternatives. In this seminar, which was held on 14th and 15th August 1997, people were talking about the regional imbalances and developmental alternatives. And Telangana is at its center. Regional imbalance. What is the regional imbalance in Telangana? United Andhra Pradesh is not a region, it's a state. And Telangana is separate from the other regions of Andhra Pradesh. So take the problems and imbalances in Telangana, and we are talking about Telangana. Professor Jaishankar, Professor 𝗵𝗵𝗻, Professor Simhadri, Professor 𝗂𝗽𝗱, all these people who are active in academics, intellectuals, are the people who are organizing this meeting too. So this Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 provided a platform for the political activists or Telangana activists to come together, and this platform, Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍, was being formed. This idea of Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 was mooted by the people like 𝗬𝗁𝗔 𝗍, a person who was with a Naxalite group, CPIML Janashakti, coming out of that, and he started Communist Party of United States of India, Dalit Bahujan concept. So this man was behind the idea for mobilizing the people from different areas. Like V. Prakash, presently he is the chairman of Water Resources Development Corporation of Telangana. Ananda Bhaskar, all these people came onto one platform. But the original idea of having such a platform was mooted by 𝗬𝗁𝗔 𝗍 also. So important people who played the role, we can talk about at Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 in the seminar. Again, Professor Jaishankar, 𝗂𝗍𝗻 Jadhav, Veeranna, Ananda Bhaskar, Satyanarayana, Sangamreddy Satyanarayana, Konda Lakshmana Papuji, all these people were active in bringing all these people together. And this Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 had two wings, that is two tier body. One is organizing committee, second was the steering committee. This 11-member steering committee means all the organizations, the 28 organizations, different organizations were part of this joint platform. Like our 𝗳𝗍𝒂, if we see the latest political 𝗳𝗍𝒂, last political 𝗳𝗍𝒂, which was steering the whole movement, that political 𝗳𝗍𝒂 had many organizations. Organizations come together as a joint action committee. Like that, this Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍𝗍 is also a joint platform where 28 organizations were there. And every organization will be represented as a member. And that is the first committee, which is known as organizing committee. But steering committee will be some people, select people, so that they can meet and take decisions to spearhead the movement, whole movement. So 11-member steering committee was there with Jaishankar at its center, 𝗂𝗍𝗻 Jadhav, and 9 more members. So they have decided to take up the agitation, and they have decided to take the whole movements into different orientation, means mass orientation, propaganda orientation, and creating the consciousness. All these things they have taken. So they have started a magazine which is known as Telangana. 𝗖𝗍𝗍𝗍 magazine is Telangana, and a rally was organized on 1st November. 1st November is a black day for Telangana. It's because 1956, 1st November, you have Andhra Pradesh. So that is a black day forever for Telanganites till the new state of Telangana was formed. So 1st November, there was a huge rally from Nizam College to Secunderabad Clock Tower. In Hyderabad, this is the first rally after a long time. After 1969 movement, there was no big rally for Telangana movement in Hyderabad. And this was supposed to be the big rally. If we consider the rallies, this is one of the biggest rally after the break, after the lull, after the silence happening in Hyderabad. So, they have continued the activities till 2000. Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 was active till 2000. 1997, it is formed, August. Until 2000, it was continuing activity. But in the last part of this latter stage, what is happening? Many of the activists who were part of Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 were gradually involving in other political parties too. Like that, these people were active in political parties like 𝗵𝗏 or some people like Tula Rajendra or our Rapulu Ananda Basar. Everyone has their own organization because it's a joint front, it's a platform. So every organization's agenda was important for them. So gradually, the activities got lessened in Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 and more people from Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 were identified with or joining or supporting from outside TRS, and TRS, after the formation of TRS, Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍's activities were completely gone or stopped. So, Jaladrishyam was the place where 𝗖𝗍𝗍 started performing. Konda Lakshman Bapuji, as I said, he was active in this meeting, Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 formation, and he asked the people to take his residence as the official center or office for Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍. Means his residence became the office. Later, when Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 is becoming inactive and TRS is forming, Jaladrishyam is the center for TRS in the beginning. So, the beginnings of TRS started on the banks of Hussain Sagar. Jaladrishyam is on the banks of Hussain Sagar. So, what were the activities taken by Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍? Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 did propaganda and agitation and sometimes charitable activities. Charitable activities to supplement to the needs of the people at times of distress. Means cholera, malaria and such things are there in tribal areas or rural areas. They collected funds and tried to provide some relief to the people. And agitations or demands for Telangana are the demands related to these famines or the disasters which are recurring in Telangana. So, they have conducted propaganda, they have conducted agitations, they have conducted charitable activities. This was the basic scope of Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍. But what is the most crucial aspect of Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 is, Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 intervene into the political parties' activities and make them pro-Telangana, like they were in the forefront in organizing the Congress MLAs, Telangana Congress MLAs into a signature campaign. 41 MLAs signed for Telangana and gave this memorandum to Sonia Gandhi. It means they are creating an opinion not only in the masses but into the political parties too. So that is how Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍's success is creating the political aspect or political space in the political parties also, like Congress. They have created, and Janardhan Reddy, Chinna Reddy, all these people were in the forefront of talking about Telangana in those days. So, in August, they have submitted an important memorandum to Sonia Gandhi when she was in Hyderabad. So, campaign for Telangana inside the Telangana Congress. Second thing is, they interacted with Chandrasekhar Rao, K. Chandrasekhar Rao, popular leader, KCR of Telangana. So, KCR was in TDP and gradually becoming distant from TDP politics, and he was having dissent on the affairs of TDP or the rules of TDP or the activities of TDP which is suppressing Telangana. So, the interaction with Telangana 𝗖𝗍𝗍 and KCR, and definitely it is mutually beneficial. KCR is getting much and much knowledge about Telangana activities, what is happening in Telangana, because he was into TDP, and these people interacted, and finally KCR came out of TDP and started TRS with this interaction. The people who are into 𝗖𝗍𝗍 like Jaishankar or 𝗵𝗏, all these people were in touch or with interaction with KCR. So this is about Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍. This is one important organization platform which created scope for Telangana. Next is Telangana Mahasabha. Telangana Mahasabha is another organization which started as part of the whole movement. This post-1990s. There is a growth of different types of movements. The movements are for the identity movements. We call it as identity movements, caste movements. So at this point of time, inside the Naxalite group, one of the Naxalite group, that is Janshakti, there was a debate. And Marojji Veeranna was spearheading the debate, and his concept of Dalita Bahujana concept. Even in country like India, it should be a Dalit Bahujan orientation because this is a Brahmanical state. That was his argument. So Marojji Veeranna's Dalita Bahujana concept was carried into Telangana aspect too. So Dalita Bahujana Prajarajyam should be the aim of Telangana movement. So when he speaks about Dalita Bahujana concept, this is ideological. That's what I said. This movement, this phase has ideological moorings, ideological basis. So this is one such. The concept of Dalit Bahujan concept brought by Marojji Veeranna is shaping up some of the organizations. In 1997, on 11th August, at 𝗬𝗦𝗍𝗃, Bhuvanigiri Sabha is happening in March, April, May, June, July, August. You can see 5 months gap. In this 5 months gap, what is happening? Telangana repression is growing. Gaddar was shot at, and the government is trying to pacify the movement or threaten the consciousness of Telangana people or the movements for Telangana people by showing such repression. We will not spare if you speak for Telangana also. Gaddar's meeting and in Bhuvanagiri, and just 1 month after he was shot at. So even Bhuvanagiri meeting, people were not allowed to come. At least on the outskirts of the town itself, or away 10 to 15 kilometers away, thousands of people were stopped from entering into Bhuvanagiri. And these people trekked different paths, and they came from outskirts of the village, all fields, hillocks, and reached Bhuvanagiri in spite of the repression. To break this this threat by the state, on 11th August 1997, a meeting was conducted at 𝗬𝗦𝗍𝗃 known as 𝗬𝗏 Telangana. Organizers were Dr. Cheruku Sudhakar, V. Prakash, who was president and secretary of this Mahasabha in the latter phase. V. Prakash, as we talked about, who was active in Telangana movement for the entire period. And Dr. Cheruku Sudhakar, a prominent doctor from Nakrekal, Nalgonda district. And these people were influenced by Marojji Veeranna. So automatically when Marojji Veeranna presented this concept of Dalita Bahujana Prajarajyam, these people were in the forefront of taking up this activity. This Telangana Mahasabha was organized in 𝗬𝗦𝗍𝗃, and thousands attended this meeting. 𝗬𝗏 Telangana is the title, I repeat. Professor Jaishankar, you know who is Professor Jaishankar. Naram Krishna Rao, an expert on water issues. B. Janardhan Rao, expert on tribal issues. 𝗪𝗓 Ailaya, expert social activist. He talks about the caste issue at length. So Innaya and many others spoke in this Telangana Mahasabha. Then Telangana Mahasabha came out with a declaration with 16 points. What do you mean by declaration? Means these are the resolutions made in this Sabha, made in this public meeting. So they demanded a white paper to be published on expenditure spent on Telangana and Andhra, so that we can know how the surplus is being usurped or taken away by Andhra ruling class from Telangana. They were demanding to abolish Polavaram, Pulichintala, because these two projects are detrimental to the identity of Telangana, resources of Telangana. So they were demanding to abolish Polavaram and Pulichintala. And land to the landless. As I said, any class or nation will demand it first, because landlessness should be controlled, should be completely avoided. We should give land to the people who can till. Landlessness is feudal concept. Landless peasantry working in landlords, or the state is becoming a landlord with lakhs of land with them and people without land. So this is the concept of land distribution. Then forest rights for tribals. And encounters in Telangana, as I said, severe repression. Then anti-privatization, reservations for Telangana people in education, employment and minority rights and language issue. All these things were incorporated in the 16-point 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 declaration. You can be asked about this. 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 declaration, how many points? It is 16-point declaration. Warangal declaration, which we will be talking about, is 50-point declaration. So this is 16 points. Amidst repression, after the delegate session, a public meeting happened in Telangana Mahasabha. And Telangana Mahasabha has opened up another thing. That is, as I said, the Dalit Bahujana concept. They have what you call encouraged for the development of different organizations, caste organizations. For example, or tribal organizations. For example, Lambada Hakkula Porada Samiti, LHPS, or 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗃. This is, we talk about 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗃, or Lambada Hakkula Porada Samiti, started during this period. Adivasi Hakkula Porada Samiti, that is 𝗬𝗏, started during this period. Gollakurma Debba, Dole Debba. Gollakurma, Dole Debba. Means Gollakurma means the people who are engaged in pastoralism, the rearing of sheep, goat, these people. So, Dole Debba is the name of the organization of Gollakurmas. Moku Debba, Moku is the thing which you tie when you climb a toddy tree. So, Gouts or toddy typing community were organized under Moku Debba. Thus, Telangana Mahasabha has made Telangana issue, plus at the same time in the society they have organized the sections, different sections of deprived classes or castes into organization. So, Telangana Mahasabha has demanded many other things like Tandas should be declared as Gram Panchayats, government measures against cholera, malaria and many diseases in Adivasi areas, pollution by NATCO company in Kottur industrial area in Mahbubnagar. This is different. I am talking about Telangana Mahasabha demands. Demand means it is not declaration. Declaration I have already discussed. Telangana Mahasabha in the future, after this meeting, they have taken up all these demands. That is what I am talking about. They have taken up all these demands. That is what I have read till now. That is Tandas, Lambada Tandas should be declared as Gram Panchayats. Government measures against the diseases, provide medical relief and prevent it. Then pollution by one company known as NATCO in Kottur industrial area in Mahbubnagar, fighting against this. Then implementation of 1 of 70 Act, tribal I talked about. Then check dams in villages, all these things were demanded by Telangana Mahasabha. So, after Bhuvanagiri meeting, we discussed about Telangana Mahasabha. Bhuvanagiri, a huge meeting. The next is 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧. When we come to 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗃 in the month of August, we have a huge meeting with declaration. That is 𝗧𝗦𝗃 declaration. And we have the beginnings from Bhuvanagiri and now it is continuing. Come to Warangal Declaration. The next topic is Warangal Declaration. See, I said this is ideological based movements or the organizations or the efforts happening here. What is the background of this Warangal Declaration? Warangal Declaration, before talking about Warangal Declaration, we have to talk about the Naxalite parties in Telangana which supported Telangana issue. From the beginning, since 1967-68 or early 70s, in Telangana, when the Telangana movement was there, in 1969 movement, Naxalite or Naxalbari politics started in this region and Naxalbari struggle broke and you have the impact of Naxalbari in Telangana too. And Naxalite parties and only few parties supported Telangana issue. And we call latter period People's War, CPML People's War, or today we call it as CPI Maoist. These people were the people who were supporting Telangana cause from day one until date. So, Maoists were supporting or Naxalbite politics were supporting in 1970s. Then comes, as they support these things, their organizations like their student organization, Radical Students Union, organized a seminar in 1983, national seminar on nationality question, invited the people from different states who are fighting for statehood, who are fighting for their rights of their nationality. All these people came and presented the paper in Hyderabad. That is Madras, nationality question seminar. Then CPIML People's War issued a document on 1st June 1997. This is happening in this phase, in which phase we are standing and talking about. So 1st June 1997, CPML People's War came out with a document. The document was titled as Movement for Separate Telangana, Telangana Development, Our Program. So this meeting was a huge, this document was a document which is providing a theoretical basis for the movement for Telangana. Another aspect is there. Before 1 year, in 1996, at Delhi, there was a huge gathering not in terms of numbers, but quality wise. There was an international seminar on nationalities. International seminar on nationalities in February 1996 in Delhi, organized by All India People's Resistance Forum. Now we'll talk about AIPRF, that is All India People's Resistance Forum, which organized a meeting in Delhi with the perspective of nationalities, liberation of nations or people. So AIPRF started activities in Delhi with the Nationality Struggle Seminar, and here in Telangana, they came out with a huge meeting at Warangal, and they came out with a declaration for Telangana. That is why we call this as Warangal Declaration. So AIPRF organized the meeting at Warangal, that is 28th, 29th of 1997, December 28, 29, 1997. The meeting was organized at Hanmakonda, and the title of the meeting was 𝗪జాస్వామిక Telangana Akanksha. 𝗪జాస్వామిక Telangana Akanksha. Remember here, 𝗪జాస్వామిక Telangana. 𝗪జాస్వామిక means democratic Telangana. They are very clear that the state which has to be formed should be a democratic one, which has to reflect the aspirations of the sections of the people who are toilers, who are the depressed, who are the most oppressed sections of the society. So, 𝗪జాస్వామిక Telangana Akanksha was the title of this meeting. And as you know, two parts, a hall meeting plus a public meeting. Again, this is happening under the severe repression. As we see, people like Professor Jaishankar, Varavarrao was lecturer in Warangal, Varavarrao, and by this time he was not in Warangal, but he was a lecturer in Warangal. So this Warangal Declaration meeting was attended by intellectuals like Jaishankar, Varavarrao, Professor B. Janardhan Rao, Professor Sitharama Rao, Kakatiya University, Professor Sitharama Rao. So they spoke at length about the perspective of Telangana from this angle, that is 𝗪జాస్వామిక Akanksha, that is democratic aspiration. Gaddar performed after a few months, means he was shot at in April, again in December he is performing, leaving a bullet inside his body. Still the bullet is there lying in his spine. It cannot be removed. So Gaddar performed again after a break, after the attempt on his life. So lastly, a few points, that is the AIPRF Secretary 𝗳𝗦𝗔𝗬𝗏, who is incarcerated now in Nagpur jail. 𝗳𝗦𝗔𝗬𝗏, the Secretary of AIPRF, proposed a 50-point declaration. This 50-point declaration is nothing but the demands of Telangana with different perspectives. Like 𝗬𝗏 Declaration I have talked about. This 50-point declaration has incorporated all the issues of Telangana. So, by this way, the meeting or the Warangal Declaration is one such important event that class-conscious organizations are coming into the movement with a bang, and clearly they are saying these are the demands of Telangana. That is why Warangal Declaration is important. And people attended the public meeting, though at least 1 lakh people were not allowed to enter Warangal by the police. On the outskirts, they will stop all the vehicles, so you can't enter the city. So you have to take some way which is not the main one and enter Warangal. So they have stopped at least 1 lakh people not to attend this meeting. So how severe the repression was, you can understand. So this is Warangal Declaration. What is the importance of Warangal Declaration? Warangal Declaration is the ideological cut point of one political stream which is talking about Telangana. Unconditionally, Telangana was supported unconditionally by this Naxalite group or Naxalite wing of CPIML, that is CPIML People's War. So, After this, after 3 months, Telangana Janasabha was organized. Telangana Janasabha, another formation. Warangal Declaration is not a meeting. It's not an association, not an organization, but Telangana Janasabha is an organization. Warangal Declaration was organized by Aiprf, which is having its different perspective. It will not talk only about Telangana, it has a bigger agenda. So you need an organization which is for Telangana. So Telangana Janasabha was organized. This Telangana Janasabha was a continuation of the efforts of Aiprf. On 5th to 6th July 1998, Hyderabad, Telangana Janasabha meeting was organized. A paper, that is Telangana and Perspective, was presented by 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗧 itself. Means how we visualize Telangana. So they gave a call for struggle. They said we can achieve Telangana only through struggle, not by lobbying or discussing with parliament or electing more MLAs. They did not have faith on elections. They are saying that if we enter into election politics only, then you will dilute the content of the movement. So they were for relentless struggle for Telangana. So, Akula Bhumayya, a teacher, government teacher, an intellectual for Telangana, was the main organizer. And this Telangana Janasabha meeting was inaugurated by M.T. Khan, a prominent journalist in Hyderabad. He worked in English press. M.T. Khan, 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁𝗺 Hyderabad, means a person who is born and brought up in Hyderabad, original Hyderabadi. Stays, his house was just besides Purana Pool. Like Purana Pool, his house is a symbol of the old city. M.T. Khan, a great intellectual, a great democrat, a revolutionary writer, and a journalist. M.T. Khan inaugurated this, a civil rights activist. He was the vice president of APCLC too. So he inaugurated Telangana Janasabha, and Kaloji inaugurated a bulletin which is Praja Telangana. This is the official organ, official bulletin of Telangana Janasabha. And as we see, Professor Jaishankar goes to every nook and corner of the state to support Telangana cause. So Professor Jaishankar, 𝗘𝗍𝗺, P.L. all these people spoke. And the program of Telangana Janasabha was presented by Kanakachari. That is, program means how we are proceeding with the movement. And as I said, this is not just Telangana away or isolated from the events of Indian conditions or national scenario. So TJ has tried to link up this Telangana movement with the other statehood movements or nationality movements. So by this process, what they are doing is, Yasin Malik of Hurriyat Conference, Khagen Talukdar of 𝗧-𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sangram Samiti, this is a civil rights organization, and Hurriyat Conference is a political body of Kashmir. These people attended and expressed solidarity with Telangana. So thus they are polarizing the idea of Telangana among all the other groups which are fighting for the statehood too. And as an adjunct or an associate of this organization, Telangana Kala Samiti was formed, because this Kala Samiti will be performing and singing songs to create consciousness in Telangana. So Telangana Kala Samiti convener was Jahangir from Erstwhile Medak district, Jahirabad presently, that is Sangareddy district, and Belli Lalita, another prominent singer I talked about in Bhuvanagiri meeting, she was also active in this meeting. So all these people organized Telangana Janasabha under the leadership of Akula Bhumayya. Akula Bhumayya was the convener of Telangana Janasabha in the next phase. So Akula Bhumayya, Telangana Janasabha, and continuation in the next phase we will be seeing he is with TP of Telangana Praja Front, Akula Bhumayya. So Akula Bhumayya, one of the great personality in Telangana movement, a teacher, a democrat, and an ardent Telangana fighter who was killed under mysterious circumstances, as the media reports say. So after this, we should conclude the topic today with some organizations. Let's talk about the other organizations which came into existence during the period. That is Telangana Students Front, which was there already in 1992. Some 𝗘𝗍𝗺 and other leaders were there from Osmania University who were active in this Telangana Student Front. But later it was revived in 1998 by a student leader known as Qasim. Presently he is a teacher in Osmania University. Then Telangana Pragati Vedika of 1997, Rapolo Ananda Bhaskar was started this organization. Rapolo Ananda Bhaskar, an ex-MP of Rajya Sabha. So, Telangana Pragati Vedika. Next, Center for Telangana Studies, that is started in OU 1997, under whose aegis or whose organization we had the seminar in Osmania University, regional imbalances and all those things, which paved way for the 𝗖𝗍𝗍 formation also. So, Center for Telangana Studies is that organization. So, next is Telangana Jana Sangatana, formed, initiated by Janashakti group of Naxalite politics. And last under the list is Forum for Telangana Studies, was started by Gade Innaya and Pittala Sri Shailam. These two people were very staunch Telangana, as I said. So, this is about the organizations. And to conclude, what is the generalizations of this period? First one is, movement for Telangana acquired a mass character. Second point, mass character means you can understand. It is not small group meeting or a room meeting now. It is a public meeting where thousands and lakhs of people are ready to come pour into the movement as masses, as mass participants. Second is, ideologically strong political formations took initiative to form organizations in this period. Like as I said, Aiprf, ideologically strong organization. And we can see Maroju Veerana's ideology. Or Janashakti is organizing this Telangana Sangatana we talked about. So all these things, ideologically strong political organizations are trying to make out some mass organizations and spread the movement. That is the second character. Then third one, repression was the main character of this society. The state was so repressive. In spite of that, people gathered around the slogan of Telangana in spite of repression. That is very important because people are fearful and fearless at times. Fearful at times, but fearless many ways. So here, people stood against the repression and organized under these organizations. And polarization was taking place during this period within the ideas, different types of ideas. That polarization is happening that we can see in this period. So, next point is, they have initiated a debate between the struggle and mass organizations and versus or inter alia, that is getting elected as MLAs and MPs and making a law in parliament. So the debate between the struggle and lobby, this phase we can witness. And many prominent intellectuals and university people are teachers or lecturers in the university, professors of university, took part actively in this phase of agitation. Many professors are coming forward. That is another important generalization of this period. And lastly, paving way for the next phase of movement. What do you mean by next phase of movement? Even this is not the last phase. In the next phase, we will see further formations and many other forms of struggles also. So this phase has paved way for the next phase of movement because this phase has brought in the people into streets. People are getting rallied under these organizations, are fighting for the rights, and they are pouring into the streets and taking processions and all these things. So this is this period which is very significant in the history of Telangana formation, as the growth of popular dissent is there, and to channelize this popular dissent, you have the mass organization. So this is the period where we had a huge dissent and new organizations are springing up.